So before you even begin to consider acquisition, there's a couple of things that you really need to focus on. And the first one being identifying your ideal customers. And actually, even established companies sometimes need to go back to defining their ideal customers and revisiting what that means. And you want to build your alpha user group. And set the foundation for your community. And that's also going to include customer success efforts. You're going to want to gather qualitative data and develop a compelling value proposition and create language around that value proposition that helps support it. So part of identifying your ideal customers is asking, who are they? They're going to be the people that are ready, willing, and able to work with you and your product. Where do they hang out? What are their desired outcomes? So I'm sure a lot of you have heard from Lincoln Murphy talking about when you've got a SaaS, sometimes your desired outcome, most of the time, it lives outside of the product. So if you've got like a Facebook ads platform, it's not creating ads on the platform, but it's getting sales from those ads after they've been created. So that would be a desired outcome, for example. And you really have to understand their desired outcomes to understand how to communicate with them. And what words do they use to describe their problems? What do they expect to get from you? And what do they hope to get from you and your product? And you've really got to define all of this before you try to acquire customers, because you want to have a focus on retention. You don't want to put all this time and effort into acquisition if you're not going for the right customers. And if you don't know the answers to these questions, you gather qualitative data. So the best way to get qualitative data is to actually sit across from somebody and to have a one-to-one conversation with them, and to consider, bias, and make sure you're not having leading questions, and make sure that you've got open-ended questions, and that you can have a real conversation and build a real relationship with your ideal customers to truly understand what their desired outcomes are for your product and the kind of language that they're using when it comes to your product. And you can work through the startup owner's manual to get started with this. Steve Blank has these worksheets in the back of it that are very comprehensive. He uses them, I think, at Stanford, where he teaches this book, and it's just a really great resource. And then, there's tools like Wootrick and Typeform that you can use to gather customer feedback. So when you're creating a compelling value proposition, that's also going to be a lot of work. At least I recommend that it is. And it's going to be a process that is changing. Your language is going to change a lot, especially as your company grows. And for that, I recommend using the value proposition design book, and really working through all the chapters in that book and deeply understanding who your ideal customer is and the language that they're using. And while you're working through that book, you'll want to talk to your ideal customers at the same time.